I had a moment where I slept in the car. So I would get myself into backstages, rooms. If I saw a door and I felt like I had the value to be there, I'm there.
Here we go.
Money, making crap for money.
What's up, guys? This is Brianna Moore, your host of the Conversations Unearthed podcast, where y'all come for me, but you stay for the guests. Today, y'all, we got no other than Miss Shima L. Green. Clap it up. So, Miss Shima L. Green is a multi-talented force in art, acting, and education. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming this true powerhouse in the creative world. With a dynamic career that spans across acting, artistry, and academia, Shima has left her mark in some of the most influential cultural hubs, from Los Angeles to DC to Atlanta. So, introducing y'all again, Miss Shima L. Green. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling very excited to get to this conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, just from looking at what you have going on social media, obviously, we talked a little bit about what you have going on, and I gave you a little bit of an introduction. How would you introduce yourself?
I would say I'm one of the most unique voices coming out of Virginia. You know, we have incredible artistry and very diverse talent, and a lot of people, you know, float through Virginia to, you know, see where they at in their craft. And so I will say that right now I'm in my lover girl era, very, you know, just here, present, aware. Yeah, so I introduce myself as someone that is really here to up the ante.
Okay.
Take center stage.
All right, so of course, as you know, this is a financial podcast.
Yes.
And the things that you have going on with the acting, artistry, and being a professor, all of those, you know, a lot of times when we talk about actors, it's kind of like a badge of honor to not get paid as a creative for a while. Yeah. Like an unpaid actor, like I'm living in my car, I moved to this place, and then, I couldn't get these jobs, and then all of a sudden I'm a star, you know? How are you feeling about that? How does someone that does what you do get paid?
Okay, so two things to that.
Okay.
One, I think anytime you go from the before and after of this is my dream and I'm actualizing this, it may feel, well, to me, each moment feels overnight, but it's never overnight. These are years of just research, studying, applying, getting better at your craft. I would say the ways that I get paid is, one, consistency. And I would say the biggest is being wellness. So if I'm able to say, hey, you know what, one time I needed a graphic for myself, but I said, well, I'm actually pretty okay with this. Let me get better. And then that attracts more people who needs graphics, just like I did, and being consistent and wanting to get better. And then once I'm better, maintaining myself so that I'm able to wake up and maybe do 3 graphics a day and also go to the studio later on tonight and record, and then also make it a set the next day.
Okay. So basically like sharpening your craft.
Yeah, and actually, I was just talking to a few students about that, Virginia State University, about one of my favorite habits of highly effective people is sharpening the saw, and that's the one I'm on, like being practical and applying right now. Yeah,
I love that. And are you from Richmond?
I am from Ettrick, Virginia.
Ettrick, okay.
Yes.
What you doing here?
I had to come talk to you, Bree.
Hey, wait, you drove all the way from Ettrick?
I drove from the area, but not precisely Ettrick. But yeah.
How long was the drive?
It's about 31 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad. Not too bad.
I used to commute 2 hours to work in LA. I had a 2-hour commute to work from there and back.
Okay, so now we got to get into it, because you from Ettrick, Virginia, but you've lived in LA, DC, and Atlanta.
Yes.
Where does all of these things, all these places come to play? What was first? Or which place was first?
The first place I moved to was Maryland.
Okay.
when I was about 17 years old, I got on a bus by myself to go audition for America's Next Top Model because I was a fanatic of the show. In high school, I would do my hair all type of crazy, whatever they was doing on the show to look different. Because back then, Tower was all about fierce and unique and showing up, you know. And so I was like, I had already started believing in myself very early. So when I was 17, I hopped on a bus. I went to DC. I went to go audition, and from there I started going to DC more often, and I kind of met some girls who were kind of older than me in college. They was my flag captains, and they would go to DC a lot, and I just felt comfortable with the DMV area. I had already learned how to ride the train. We used to go to the Caribbean Festival, Georgia Ave a lot. So that's how I ended up there. I had two friends. One at the time, my manager, Simone, and then she had her Delta soror, Kendra. We all moved to, what is that? Garrett Morgan Boulevard, up the street from the Commander Stadium.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
At 17?
But at that time, I was about 21,
okay.
But I was comfortable with moving there because I had...
okay.
Yeah.
So this America's Next Top Model situation, did anything come of that?
Just to believe in myself more.
Okay.
But the first time I went like with like just buck-eyed, like not really knowing anything, just going, hey, I think I can make it, but not really understanding that you still have to move with intent. Like if you want something, you have to go in there like a professional from the get-go. I went in there as a fan, like, oh, I don't know what the judge is gonna say. But the second time I auditioned, they told me I was too short. Now, obviously, I don't look that short, right? But they measured you. But at this time, I went maybe like 2 years later, again at like maybe, 19? And I auditioned at Pentagon City in Arlington. And I went in there, and she measured me, and she said, you are 5'6.5". You have to be 5'7" to even move. So I don't know what was up with that day. Like, I don't know if I
couldn't have put on no heels or nothing?
I thought I had on heels. I can't recall it back that far.
Okay.
But I'm like,
dang.
Then I became a rapper, so it's okay.
What? Okay. So that's 17 years old. We get that. Devastating news that you are half an inch too short.
Yes.
That's awful. Oh man, that sucks. But
I was persistent after
was
that.
persistent.
Not at the audition, but after that, yeah.
Okay, so you had bought the headshots and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh wow, you was ready.
I was ready.
So okay, that seemed like that put some fire up under you though, because you said after that you became a rapper.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What made you switch from modeling to rapping?
So I was always doing the music thing in the background. When I got to my high school, I went to Matoka. They issued us laptops. And we used to figure out a way to kind of like get the admin settings. I don't want to say hack, but we figured it out. Smart kids.
Yes, for sure.
And with the admin settings, you got the Windows Media Player, and you also got like a voice recorder player. So this at the time, music still had music at the beginning before they came on, or music at the end of the song, and I would take those songs and I would call myself remixing them. So I recorded on my laptop, and I would just play them on the bus all the time. And at this time, like being an independent artist was really bubbling.
Yeah.
And especially a young independent artist, high school. So yeah. But I used to always, when I got to college, used to say, I'm not a rapper. I'm still not a rapper. I'm still not a rapper. And then like my very last semester in college, I released this voice memo from my iPhone who is that? Joe and Big Punisher. Still not a player.
Okay.
I redid Still Not a Player, and I called it Still Not a Rapper. But ironically, if that's the correct way to use that, after that, I was rapping nonstop because I had moved in DC and I went straight as an artist.
Okay. And you were like successful at that?
Yeah. Okay. I was doing like 4 or 5 shows a week up and down the East Coast. I got a chance to do this mini tour with Jadakiss. It was just like a few things, yeah. And
when you get, and I'm just always curious about, like, 'cause I hear a lot of artists say the main thing you get paid from as being a rapper is from doing shows.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what your experience was? Okay.
And my manager and I, like God bless her, we off the gate went business savvy, like buttons, stickers, merch, like at the shows, really presenting my stuff on the table, CDs, just anything people can like
can purchase. Yeah. Wow.
I was signing everything, like I was already a professional, I guess, at the time. Excuse me.
Very good.
So like I think if I would say again, you make money as a creative, as an artist, as a craft master, by making sure that you're well and people see the effort that you put into your things, because you shine when you do that, and people want to keep you polished. Like, it's not a mentality. Maybe your peers that you're working alongside every now and then may feel like some hate, but people who want to see you win, help you win, right?
Okay.
So that could be strangers.
Yeah, that's true. Because you definitely came in here, y'all. She came in here and gave me the whole blueprint on how to record my podcast, with the light Kelvin setting is in the room.
They know.
They know.
They know.
I was like, oh, you really, really, really create. I thought I create content. No, you really create content, and you don't mind like sharing the information.
No value.
Yeah,
that's
for
what
sure.
We on.
And then I know you told me a little bit about a name that you used to have.
Yes,
before we started. I want you to tell that story because I think it's beautiful.
Okay, yes. So sophomore year in college, me and one of my homegirls, one of my sorority sisters now, we were sitting in a computer lab. We was coming up with quote unquote African names, right? And I came across this one called Kamani, and it was to be beautiful and sweet. And then I added the more because at this time I was a Spanish fanatic. Like I had probably taken like 6-7 years of Spanish. Please don't.
Don't actually know Spanish. Look, no habla español, so you safe with me over here.
Because at Petersburg, they don't be talking no Spanish like that, so it's kind of get a little rusty.
Okay.
But I mean, vocabulary, I'm good on the vocabulary.
Okay.
Though, yeah. Anyway, fast forward to the story. I added a more, so I walked for maybe like almost a decade saying that, hey, love the one who's beautiful and sweet. Love the one who's beautiful and sweet. And I'm early teens at this time. So by the time I get like 24, 25, I'm like, everything is not beautiful and sweet. Like, wow. I don't want to have to like keep saying that when I introduce myself, because it didn't feel authentic anymore. It felt superficial, I guess. So then I sat in LA. I call this my Kamani Amore headquarters. I was at, I'm not going to say the exact address, but I was on Crenshaw Boulevard in Mid-City. And I say, you know what? I was Googling and I found out that Sidney Poitier, and at this time I was also getting into acting. So I was like, oh, he played this character called Kamani in this movie called Something of Value. And I was like, I could work with that because that's how I'm feeling. And I was like, from this day forward, I incorporated Kamani Amore. And I said, this going to be love pouring from and into something of value. So that's just how I try to embody now when I'm representing my business,
And that's exactly how I felt. Like, before you even told me this story, when you started just like saying the things that I needed to do and the things I needed to get, and you like, I pulled it up on Amazon and showed it to you, like, yep, that one, like, it's, you literally, because sometimes you need a little bit of hand holding, like, we all want to get it out the mud, and we all want to say, we self-made, but like,
better together.
Exactly. So we talked a little bit about your merch and how you were when you were on tour. And I kind of want to know, because since you were an independent artist and you didn't have any big industry backing you, or what's it called, record label backing you at this time. So you were funding everything yourself. I'm saying, like, the merchandise, road trips. How did that work?
To be honest, I was not the best up on finances.
Okay.
Now, since I had those degrees, I've always could make my way. But my manager, she was an accounting major, and they were giving them 20 to 25-year-olds up to $100K. My manager was really making the money, y'all. I'm not even going to front. And then she came. Oops, sorry.
Are you good?
Then she came with the rapper starter pack. Prior to it being a rapper starter pack, like, she had bought a Dodge Challenger, right? So
Okay.
So I'm riding around to all these shows, and like me, she's very like a meek, humble kind of person. I'm kind of reserved,
Yeah.
but I persist ever since I got told no at America's Next Top Model for not being tall enough. So I would get myself into backstages, rooms. If I saw a door and I felt like I had the value to be there, I'm there. So it came with, I didn't have the back end of a label, but I did have some capital, because if I couldn't pay my rent, I had someone that could possibly help me pay my rent. If I needed some headshots or 300 high resolution photos, I had someone who would be like, all right, I'll let you borrow this 300, or I loan it, borrow loan, or I give this $300 to you, right? So that was the favor in that. But everything comes to a stopping point, at some time. But outside of that, once you believe, again, it's all about the belief in you as a creative, because even though I may have had some cushion to fall back on every now and then, and I also had a really incredible uncle in my life as well.
Okay.
I will say the rest was up to me. So I would get into these rooms and get all these different photo ops with the people who were in the industry, and being yourself. And then you get to build relationships with them. So you may not have the dollars that they getting, but maybe they'll invite you into a
networking.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. That's the most important thing. So when you say she was getting $100K, she was getting $100K for your shows?
No, she was getting that because her job, like,
just what she did to her actual career.
Yeah.
As an accountant, she was making that much money. Okay,
right.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
So we recently was laughing about it because I said, "Oh my God, she was getting like to me." Even though, everyone want to be so big baller, big time at this time. But at 21 years old, 22, 70, 80K, any of that.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot. That's decent. You bringing in $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and at this time rent was a little bit cheaper than it is now. So you telling me, we had very nice places. Me and my roommates at the time, we had very nice places.
I'm sure. You don't seem like you would just not stay in a nice place. I feel like you gotta have. You gotta have the beautiful like lobby and room service. And
my mom, man, she told all that. She was just saying, yeah, because my mom, my dad, she was like, yeah, because I run our house like a business. So when I sit back, because I used to not want to do this or do that growing up, but I used to always be like in my den or in my room, like gunning on making music, perfecting my craft. So I guess that's just how it came about.
That's good.
But it hasn't always been all smiles, but yeah.
Okay, well, talk to me about the not so awesome times.
When it comes to an end, people get tired.
When it comes to an end,
like when you really have to start being independent, and you can't rely on all these financial backings because people get into their own crafts or got to put their money elsewhere, or you get older and you want to shift gears. So
there's no like.
I had a moment where I slept in the car, LA.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, only for like a week.
A week?
Yeah, that's a long time. But it's a long time, but not in comparison. It's some people out here that they got Skid Row in LA, so it's people who they got a lot of pockets in LA where people they want to do that.
I've heard that somebody else who came up here who was an artist. She was living in LA for a while, and she was like, yo, we in Richmond think we know what poor is. No, you haven't seen poor until you live in LA and you see kids walking to school with no shoes on.
Yeah, my sister came and visited, and I didn't even know. I knew we were in DTLA, but I didn't know we were about to cross through Skid Row, because it's this kind of famous black-owned chicken restaurant kind of in the middle of Skid Row a little bit. So we was walking through the art district, but right behind fashion district, but right behind that is Skid Row. Like a row of tents. Just people.
Wow.
Like a community.
And I've only ever seen Skid Row through the view of like the soft white underbelly.
Yeah, my niece, she was about 4 years old at the time. We were walking through it. Yeah.
What'd you see? How'd you feel when you walked through it? Like, did you know what it was, or?
I didn't quite know what it was.
Okay, you just saw a bunch of tents.
It's a bunch of tents.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, What are some common financial mistakes you see actors and creatives making?
One, not getting the first one earned income.
Okay.
So I go by this model of like it's probably way more, but 8 streams of income. And the first one that we have access to is earned income, meaning you know that you went to go exchange something and you mean time most likely, and you're gonna get paid at a recorded time. And I feel like that's where I can say my personal financial mistake was. It's like, but I'm doing this, so like I don't even know how to work because I'm gonna work and do this at the same time. And it's like, no, you work, you get a routine, you get structure. From there, your world is open. You get even more creative.
Is that why you chose being a professor? Just to have a financial backing?
Bree, how much time we got? Because I really became a professor from being a smart ass, for real. Like, I became a professor because I guess persistence again, because I became a dispatcher at UPS because in 2019 I separated from the manager that I had, and I separated from my friend group who was a part of that LA
group that you went out there with. Yeah,
right. So I was on my own in LA, and I kept bouncing from this place to this place, and all while saying, hey, I need to be here because of this reason. But fast forward, 2019 got here. It was probably like June. And I left from out what I would consider to be my headquarters. And shout out to Brad. He lives in LA, but at the time I had moved in with him. And I was paying $1,200 for a room and a bathroom. But it was probably the best $1,200 I spent, because the very first weekend we went to church, and it was One Church LA with Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts and Pastor Ray and the rest of them, and they were talking about this fast. So I would do this fast, and my roommate was really on that. So I would fast from 6 to 6, and after fasting from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for a week, it's like I got so much revelation, so much downloads of how to move forward in life. But I couldn't afford to stay there no more. But for the 2 months I was able to pay that $1,200, I got so much done, so much accomplished. I incorporated the business. I met more people. From there, I got to attend the BET Awards. I performed at BET Live. Prior to leaving there, the last celebrity house I went to was Trey Songz. Trey don't know I was at his house. Everyone asked me, so I'm just gonna say that.
Let me clear this up.
Everyone was like, was he there? Everyone asked me that, and I don't try to keep it a mystery or nothing. I was supposed to be in his house, and in a way of as a creator, and we're going to work together again because that's just how things work.
That's divine timing. That's how it works, right?
So, crazy enough, I end up going to Glendale up until my cousin's, he's recognized as one of like the top 5 droners. So I still, again, had a little support there. But I was kind of on my own still. So when I went up there, I saw that he owned an agency. So again, my mind's already open. My heart is already open to what's next. So I was like, I went to church one last time, and Pastor Sarah Jakes preached a sermon called Going Home.
You went to her church service?
Yeah, I used to go to One Church LA faithfully every Thursday, every Sunday. Activate service and every Sunday. And shout out to my sister in Christ, Alicia, because she would make sure, she would make sure that I was there. Okay. But she preached a sermon Going Home, and I used to look out this window in the living room, and the tower would always blink red. But that particular day, I was like, God, go home, like from LA. Like, I feel like I'm just getting independent. I'm just getting my footing on the ground. And I was like, I don't know. I need a sign. You know how we always ask.
Yeah, yes. Of course, yeah.
So I was like, I need a sign. So I looked out the window, and the tower blinked green. Like, that was the first time I saw the tower always blink red. That was the first time I saw it blink green.
So you go home. You got to go. Wow.
And about 2 weeks later, I was back at home. But prior to being in that space, I would spend like up to 18 hours a day, like quiet, unless I worked Tuesday and Thursday. And that's when I had that 2-hour commute because I used to like counsel young adults with autism.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And like, you know, go to attend their college classes with them at Santa Monica. So I know there's a lot of backstory.
That's
but we're
okay.
going to fast forward.
This is great.
Okay. We're going to fast forward. I came home with nothing for real but my talent, my craft, my name, and all the photo apps I've already taken. So I decided to come get a job at UPS. And I was like, I'm gonna work. And I didn't even know if I wanted to do music. I actually wanted to come to Virginia and open up a church. Because that's how much time I had spent with God. Like, I would meditate for hours, like 18 hours silent. I don't even know how to really get that to translate to people. Like, that was a lot of.
That is a lot. That's a lot of discipline too. Like, was this intentional? You were intentionally quiet for 18 hours, or you?
I was very intentional about it, and I would just read the word a lot, or listen to praise music. And then I didn't even know my cousin was like Muslim in the house, and he would still just let me get up and, you know, just do my thing.
Oh, okay.
He eventually told me now they don't play around, but
what, they don't like for you to pray in the house to God, or like what
no, I would say I don't know everything about being Muslim, but Muslims pray. Right? Okay. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but normally they know to like really get their prayer
like,
in
at certain times and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I just mean I was blasting stuff about Jesus.
I got you. He was like, Allah.
Yeah, so
I got
fast forward, I got a UPS job, but I ended up stopping the job and I got back in the studios. I got back and I don't want to kind of lose the story, but how I came back to being a professor is because I stopped UPS, but I eventually went back, but this time I went back intentional. If I can show you, like, if I can come across a pattern, it's like the moment I'm not intentional about it, it don't come across as it's supposed to. So even in the moments where I persist and I get to the other side of the door, if I didn't set no intent for it, it's like I'm just on the other side of the door, which is how I got into Trey House, being an artist and someone believing in me, but on the other side of the door, we don't have our record yet. You know what I mean? So when I went back to UPS this time, because I worked at UPS 2019, so I knew what to expect. So when I went back, I was like, oh no, I'm not working on no trucks long. I'm become a supervisor because I see they stay off the trucks, and I'm gonna do that. So when I did that, within maybe like less than 30 days, I was a supervisor. I was pulled off the truck. They sent me to a supervisor training class. And I won every award in the class, and they gave me a UPS bike. So it was a time period, like I don't got the pictures on my Instagram right now, that everyone was seeing me ride this bike. And everyone was like, do you deliver packages on the bike? I'm like, no, crazies. They gave me this because I was outstanding and representing the company. From there, they hired me into one of the highest paid departments at UPS. So I became a feeders dispatch manager. And it went all downhill though from there. I went in the room, Brianna, like with a high self-confident, like, ooh, I did all this, came up in 45 days in UPS. Like, yeah, this is good. And I didn't double my salary, like, wow, within 40, you know, like less than 45 days. I got up that stairs with that energy with people who have been there for like 8+ years. And I'm ready to keep going as high as I can. And they like, wait a minute, young lady. Like, I don't know if it was intentional, but it woke me up again. But fast forward through everything I experienced up there, one of my coworkers had kind of made me mad one night. And I said, I can go be a professor. And I could go make $100K right now being a professor. So I was just being a smart aleck, you know. And then one night we got into it and I ended up getting suspended with pay for 2 months. And it was like in June. So I had the whole summer off just getting paid. I went to Atlanta. And then when I was on my way back, I was like, what am I going to do? Because what if they don't let me come back to work? What if they say, you know, after much review, we suspended in the pay, you don't got a job. So I was like, you know what, let me try to be a professor. And that's how that came about. I know that was a long spill.
No, that was professor. That was great because you can see like the incline of how you got to where you were, then you stopped, and then it's kind of like you let somebody knock you off your horse though. because like you got into it with this person who was probably not even at your level, and you went down to their level, and then everything just. But it shifted you into
your
next thing.
I'm gonna go make that money with
that professor money.
Because now being a professor double that salary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you at are you comfortable sharing like where you are a professor at, or is it like a college?
No.
Is it a university?
Yeah, HBCU. No, I'm proud of that. I teach at Virginia State University.
Nice. Okay.
I teach in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences under the Mass Comm department. So yeah, it's everything that I've been doing over the last couple of years, over the last 5 years.
Wow.
And simultaneously, another thing you asked me about the 3 lessons of the financial like mistake or getting better.
Yeah.
Number 2, again, self-discipline with your funds, because it's not about what you have. I mean, it's not about what you spend, but what you keep. So I had to learn what to keep. So at this time, I had found this space. There's so much, Bree. I found this space that was there before I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, in between of moving back to LA and VA. When I came back, the space was still available for me. And I would take my very first 2 months. And if you ever worked at UPS and you starting off, you only get like $300 to $400 a week. I would take every $300 to $400 and go put it directly in the hands of the landlord to open up the community space in Old Town Petersburg.